Recently, the world celebrated the International Kiswahili Day with vibrant festivals at the coastal city of Mombasa, and representatives from all 8 East African community member states gathered to honor Kiswahili, which is increasingly becoming a unifying factor for these particular nations. And this evening, I'm honored to be joined by RBA's Chief News Editor, Sylvanus Karemera, who attended the event, and I will provide us with insights and key highlights of the event. Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sam.
Right, to start with this, can you give us an overview of this particular day, key discussions and the celebrations in general that took place?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I think this day was, celebrated on Sunday in the coastal city of Mombasa, as rightly said, and it was preceded by 2 events, which was a very huge events. And in these events, many people, in this case experts in Kiswahili, stakeholders, scholars, and other different people in Kiswahili had gathered from 8 countries, members of the East African community. And what they were discussing was to see how Kiswahili could be an instrument, or rather tool, to be unifying these countries and even beyond. Because in this 2-day international conference on Kiswahili, what came out was 2 or so different things. One was Kiswahili is very important to actually unify all of these countries, as we had earlier said.
Right.
But now, one. Number 2, Kiswahili, because it's one of the significant tools that demonstrate the culture of people. And in that sense, these countries, to some extent, are similar when it comes to cultural norms and interaction and so on and so forth.
Right.
So scholars and experts, especially lecturers in Kiswahili, of Kiswahili in the different universities across the region, they were discussing on how best the government would actually give a priority in making sure that Kiswahili is actually going deep down into use of it amongst the people of these countries.
As you're talking about that, I'm just wondering, what did countries, for instance, in this case, Rwanda, have to showcase regarding the Kiswahili in this particular country?
Well, I was one of the delegates from Rwanda, and what Rwanda demonstrated there was Kiswahili has been used in Rwanda even during, colonial times, but with the informal, aspect of it. But it was up to 2017 when the parliament in Rwanda actually passed a law, providing space with the Kiswahili to be used now in schools. And since then, Kiswahili has been taught in schools such as, secondary schools and universities. Yeah. And, by that, we've seen a very number of people in Rwanda now speaking Kiswahili, even in cross-border businesses. Yeah. So basically, this is a package that the Rwandan delegates actually, showcased, because now, as I speak, as I've just said, Kiswahili is one of the 4 languages, official languages in Rwanda, which actually very many people are wondering about, as in how possible the country should actually embrace 4 languages, because we know some of other countries have got maybe 1 or 2 official languages, but now when it comes to 4 languages in Rwanda, very many people actually attendants of the conference were coming to us and asking why and how possible this has always been. And our response was very simple. Rwanda is taking Rwandans as the only asset for development of this country, and for the asset to be a good asset for you, you have got to be having people who are experts in such kind of languages, who could go around either in the region or beyond this region to actually make sure that they interact with the people, and therefore they invest even in Rwanda. And
with these particular discussions, with different experts coming together, what challenges were identified as stumbling blocks to the widespread of Kiswahili and in these particular countries in East Africa, to see that Kiswahili is really a unifying factor, as it is spoken in different countries, yes, but we can say to what extent. So what challenges were really brought forward, and how are they being planned to be addressed, so as to see Kiswahili being a broad language for all of these countries?
I think challenges there were very many, actually. be it in the previous two different events that I've earlier spoken about, but also on this particular day. Challenges were actually very many, but a few of them stood out. One was the stereotype, where people think maybe if someone speaks Swahili and not fluent in English or French, this person does not seem to not have gone to school, let's say. So there is this low self-esteem for some people who either speak Swahili as their mother tongue, so to say, but there are other people who think maybe if someone doesn't speak these foreign languages, then it doesn't count, in society. But another factor was like, as I earlier said, languages like French and English and other foreign languages, because of the traditional or rather colonial aspect of it, to some extent they have been overlapping the use of Kiswahili in these countries because people, especially leaders and other stakeholders or people or policymakers, so to say, have been prioritizing Kiswahili at the expense of, English and French at the expense of Kiswahili.
Last one, what could be the role of education in East Africa? You said it well that Kiswahili was embraced in Rwanda and is being taught in school, but again, although we can ask to what extent, but what could be the role of education, deep education in Swahili to make sure that this language is really popular even from the upper age, from the younger age as children grow up, they really are conversational in Swahili. What could be the role of education and was it highlighted as a major factor to improving Kiswahili?
I think you are very right, Sam. I think every aspect of life starts from deep down when at the tender or young age, so to say. I think now I go back to the governments that those curricula, setters or writers or Ministry of Education from all member countries, I think they should start from at the early age of kids or children, for this matter, that we should have the curricula specifically to teaching Kiswahili because the more you speak, as I said, the more you speak in many languages, the wider gates become for you to actually get access to any part of the world. Yeah. And I normally tell people, even when I was still a teacher, I was saying my students that our mind, our head is like a wardrobe. A wardrobe where I keep my coat in my wardrobe is not where I keep, let's say, my other clothes. Like you have got different rooms where you should keep your things. So is even in language learning. For example, if you have enough time, you can learn Kiswahili, you can learn Kinyarwanda, you can learn Swahili. And I think a very good example here, I haven't mentioned or rather mixed any word of Kiswahili in my statement here. Yeah. Yet I'm fluent in Kiswahili. So what I'm trying to say is governments should actually enact laws, one, pertaining to how Kiswahili should be learned from deep down, but also even the Ministry for Education should also, write curricula that favors or rather gives space for young children to actually learn Kiswahili. Otherwise, it's a very big challenge that we have always been navigating through to actually make maybe think Kiswahili is going to be embraced or even go deep down in societies right from either tender age or even an old age as mine. So I think governments should do, through them, the respective ministries of education and the other ministries should prioritize the use of Kiswahili because after all, it's the only African language which is still grappled with the stumbling blocks now to getting recognition. You remember in 2004 when the African Union adopted Kiswahili as one of the official languages, at least now the UNESCO and the World at Large has recognized the 7th of July as the World Kiswahili Day. So I think gradually we are seeing some recognition, but we as stakeholders in Kiswahili, we need to see much more efforts being put in place by policymakers as well as government. Those people whose say can be really decide, so to say.
Right. Thank you very much for this. We hope with different stakeholders, with experts, with educators and policymakers, we can see a change in East Africa.
Thank you, Sam.
Right. And since we're talking about Kiswahili, I should say asante sana.
Asante sana na wabarikiwe kabisa.
Right.